arguing with people with a topic that you have absolutely no interest in and think is ridiculous.
Don't put
And
us
if
on
you
the same fucking boat as that people. What the hell is wrong with you?
well, I'm just asking that it isn't. It isn't. I don't think it's normal for people that say that this is
We
ridiculous and
get your
stupid.
point, but
And there's no
we can move on from that.
24 hours a day. You know, come on.
Bring that stuff up.
Yeah, it
please.
doesn't logically add up, is what he's saying. I agree with him, but that doesn't mean you can't be here. So let's just move on.
No.
I do want to hold his feet to the fire about his pictures.
Hold on,
Of curve.
let me finish what I was saying. It wasn't about the specific topic. What and what I'm saying
I
is,
know,
for
and I-
people who claim that this is invalid and stupid. They seem to spend an awful lot of time on this specific topic.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We heard your point, right? And I'm asking to move on from that. So I want to hold his feet to the fire about the pictures of the curved water that he said he had. I'd like to see those. Maybe one that I can replicate.
Who is that directed to?
Anyone who said that they had pictures of curved earth.
It's pretty much
I
you and
think
Gummy
it
Bear
was,
and-
Yeah, Soundly's.
I
Just
think
look
it
at
was
Soundly's pictures.
you. Soundly's picture isn't pictures of curved earth. There's pictures of proof of refraction, and you know that. I mean, low-level
No.
observation over water, you would agree would be heavily refracted, right?
If that's what you think, then your pictures
No,
don't
that's
prove
not what I
flat.
think, right? I know that. I've proven that to myself, and I've been told that by people like you.
I've proven to myself that those are pictures of curve of Earth.
So you went there?
No, I didn't.
Let's see your. So how did you prove it for yourself?
Because I've taken pictures of long distance objects where the horizon obscures part of the
Let's
bottom.
see 'em.
I've done astronomy, which is based on.
No,
Why
let's
does that
not go
matter?
to
You're just gonna call
astronomy
it
and the stars. Let's see the bottom-up obstruction pictures that you have. Can you post
I'll
one
do
of
you
those?
one better. How about I just show you a picture of Earth from my satellite?
Why would we do that? We can't do that. That's not your picture. Not something
Your
I can replicate.
satellite, did he say?
I did it. Why can't you?
Yeah, his
So
satellite.
you're moving on because you know that bottom-up obstruction picture is just refraction, right?
Have you got a spaceship?
No, refraction doesn't account for as much.
Well,
as
then why would you move on from that? If that's 100% proof, why would you just not post it?
Because this is better.
He runs from his own
Picture of the whole
claim.
Earth.
Something better than 100% proof? How could that
Yeah,
be?
he runs from it.
Yeah,
He runs
I think
from
I've
his
made
own
my
claim.
point. We can move on from this too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Contradict
so you don't want to see
yourself.
my proof? You're running away
Well,
from my proof?
Are you posting it?
Yeah, I'll post pictures from my satellite.
Do you want
No,
to
the
build a
picture,
spaceship?
the 100% proof that water is curving and obstructing something bottom up.
Sure, picture from my satellite shows a
You-
globe Earth.
Have you made
Yeah,
your
there you go.
prediction for ranting?
And look at that guy. Wow. Awesome,
He
man.
can't
You're doing
follow.
great.
He says he's got a photo of a boat bottom up. Oh, here's a satellite. His
He
logic
didn't
is so
mention anything
unlogical.
about satellites earlier. He
It's his
mentioned
satellite.
bottom-up obstruction, Earth curve. He mentioned measuring stars and celestial objects. And then he mentioned one other thing, but nothing about satellites. Now those
You asked what
100%
I
proofs
did.
are not good enough. He wants to move on.
He'll deny
You
his own
asked what I
proof.
did, though.
That's all you need to know.
You-
Maybe they're not 100%
asked what-
proofs.
They're not.
Yeah,
They're
well-
0% proofs. That's why he runs from it.
The satellite pictures are 100% proof.
I don't get.
So are
you
Soundly's
you get
pictures.
my question, right? I don't get why you're running from that bottom-up obstruction thing. That was your first answer to how do you know it's curved?
No, actually, there were three reasons that they
Hold on.
agreed.
Right,
to
and the
that. That was
first
just
one,
one of them.
and
No,
the
the
first one was
problem-
bottom-up obstruction.
The
The
problem
problem
actually
is that
no
you basically
picture.
hand wave it away as refraction, so
I
I,
think
don't
you
even
know
have to
it's
mess
not-
with that. I think you know that you're lying, but you can't lie about the picture my satellite took.
What satellite's that? But Gambino, it's your
TF1.
satellite. What do you mean?
He doesn't have a satellite.
It's
He's
TF1.
bullshitting. It's just bullshit.
Basis denial.
Bullshit.
Basis denial.
Come on,
Okay.
give
gotta
us,
do better
give
than
us
that.
more info on
Bullshit.
your satellite. I'd like to. I'm all ears. My
Can I
brain's
It's a little
Satellite?
open.
CubeSat that we did.
Hang
It
on.
was launched on
I wanna
Alana
hear what
19.
What? Sorry, what's that?
It was a little CubeSat called Simulation to Flight, launched on Alana 19 on Rocket Labs out of New Zealand.
Word. Good on you, dude.
Is there any way to distinguish a photo from a so-called satellite from a photo from something like the Himawari?
Yeah,
Have
you
you
can
got-
see the FOV and you can see that you can know the altitude of the source.
Have you got like your data analysis for this launch you did from NZ?
Yeah, what kind of analysis are you referring to? You got to be more specific.
Do you have something that you could sort of show me so I could have a look at it too?
Sure, got tons of stuff. Do you want the 2-line element? You can point an antenna at it and get the signal yourself. I'll tell you the decoding mechanism.
I'd enjoy that. Yeah, I've got a satellite.
Yeah. Do you know what a 2-line element is, though?
No.
Okay. It's a set of numbers that tells you the orbital coordinates of it, so that you can point an antenna at it. Do you know how to convert those to alt-as coordinates?
No, but you could help me.
I guess so. Maybe.
You don't want to?
Yeah, sure, I do.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
This is awesome.
I'm glad you think so.
I'm playing games with trolls now.
Lagging me head.
Yeah, it's
You all are, you dickheads. This is a massive troll.
Yeah. I don't know
Always
what we're
has
doing.
been. 6 years of trolling. Fucking hell. Fun though. I mean, as long as you're learning and getting something out of it. Like,
Do you guys really think that they're trolling, or I think that they're scared? I mean, could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Gambino's trolling.
For anything?
It's
They're
unintelligent.
scared of it. Why would they be scared of us, Matrix?
No. I don't think they're scared of us. I think they're scared to live in a world where we don't really have answers for anything.
That's always going to be.
Got plenty of answers to put something in orbit and get pictures
Totally
from
agree
it.
with that.
Orbit, you say?
They're scared.
They're scared. They have to answer to the creator.
Yeah.
That's why they have to build their model.
I'd like to
It's so
step
funny
in.
how you guys have to ignore everything that just happened.
Well, I'd like to
Proof I
step
just
in
gave.
one time because what Bev just said hit home. You know, he just admitted that he's only here to catch people in contradictions, like ask so many questions to maybe get them to slip up. So that is kind of a known troll thing, right? So spend your time wisely.
Well, the thing too,
Yeah,
you
and
can use
outside of that,
you can use Gambino logic against himself. He doesn't
Go ahead
believe in
and try.
gods or gods.
He just
I don't
comes
believe in
back.
models or
Just comes
models.
back again. With
Yeah,
the same
who
shit.
cares what Gambino thinks if he's only here to contradict us, like, you know, to make us, you know, whatever, in his eyes, catch
But
us
see,
in a contradiction. I mean, it
he
doesn't make any
knows-
sense the
And
way
don't
some-
contradict
Yeah,
you.
he knows
and
he
make you
lives in a
contradict yourself
contradiction.
to expose it.
He knows
Right.
he lives in a contradiction, so he's trying to make everything a contradiction, so nothing's a contradiction, so that he can
Don't tell me
pretend
what I think.
he doesn't live in a
Speak for
contradiction.
yourself. Me?
he came
Why are
on.
you talking about
He
me?
came on to Betty's server with the sock, pretending to be a flat earther, making absurd claims.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
ahead,
that's
you're
go ahead,
paranoid.
If you
and
did
deny
that, bro.
Gambino.
Did you do that?
If you do that,
No. No,
that's,
he's got me
that's
confused.
fucked up.
Good on
Did you do that?
Gambino.
He's like,
Mhm.
no, he's got me
You gotta
confused with
try
someone else.
different
There's so
tactics.
many other people.
So you don't have any other stock accounts?
So here's
No.
my proof.
I think that's
Okay,
funny.
here's my proof.
I'm different.
I muted him on there, right? And so and then we were having a conversation and he brought up the fact of Betty's server, right? And as soon as he said Betty's server, that made me interested because, you know, why would he refer to it as Betty's server? So then
Because
he sent
everybody
the
knows
message,
that's her name.
the same copy paste message that he sends everybody for his 10 proofs or his 8 proofs or whatever. He sent that. And then when I asked him, is this Mr. Giggles? He didn't deny it. He said, you know, why are you name calling me or whatever? And then I told him Righteous was going to ban him, and Righteous did ban him. And
No.
so
Did you
unless
get that
there's
guy
some
banned?
unless there's some other guy that's going out and creating sock accounts, right, pretending to be flat earthers and then using the same arguments that you use, Gambino, what are we supposed to believe?
I didn't see this. I don't know who you're talking about.
Well, I don't know why
So,
you would
yeah, I mean-
deny trolling when you just admitted that you're here to troll. Like, but
No,
be
I'm not here
aware.
to troll.
Sounds like it.
This is
Okay.
uh
Well, whatever you call
I
it,
mean, you
but
can
it will,
speculate all you want.
it
I'm just
will
here
be
to
looked
expose your
over.
self-contradiction. That's fair.
So self-contradicting yourself is actually the answer to our contradictions, supposedly.
Yep. Making himself
No,
look
I never said
smart
anything like that.
while making us look retarded is the goal. Trust me.
So you're not here for a valuable conversation.
Sure,
You're
I am.
just
That's
here
why
to-
I'm talking
No, he
facts
admitted
and arguments.
I'm confused though.
He's just here to see how dumb we are. He
Yeah.
said it earlier.
Yep.
Well,
How dumb.
that actually is true. I have to admit that is
Yeah.
true.
Okay, well,
How
just
dumb.
be,
boost then.
just be
The
aware
bullshit
that's
we
not
know?
allowed. So tread lightly. We'll be keeping an eye on it. But
It's
All right,
like,
don't show me
do you
how
guys
dumb you are,
watch
then.
Witsit
Not
Gets
allowed.
It yesterday? He was arguing with debating with the guy, and Witsit asked him a question that he didn't know the answer to, and guess what he did? He opens Google, he reads the answer, and there you go. That's the answer.
By the way,
That's how
that guy that he was
go about
talking
their
to,
lives.
he sounds like one of the guys that come on here and troll the flat earthers.
They
The
think
way
they're
he
smart, but
responds.
that's what they do, right? And they open Google, they read the answer to the question, and that's it.
You have to
Man, if you keep
understand.
sitting and argue,
So
For
we're
these
gonna have to
people,
gossip about people so much.
for these people,
Again,
being able to
I didn't
repeat the
hear what you
mainstream is intelligence for them. That's what they consider to be intelligent. Just being able to repeat it. They don't even have to understand it.
What did he just said? What did you say?
You guys wouldn't have to gossip about people if you really had valid arguments about your stance. You spend a lot of time gossiping.
You wouldn't
We're not
have to.
gossiping,
we've been
we're
arguing for
talking
6
about
years
you.
at this point. I
Stop it.
mean,
You had valid
teaching you
arguments.
guys right now. He's teaching
Ooh.
you guys how to troll.
Triggered.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Triggered.
seriously,
Big time.
get on his level. He is really good at this. He's got you guys like scrambling about right now. It's quite good.
I'm impressed. But what he's saying is not untrue. Many people go out into the public and can handle themselves quite nicely. I mean, most of the people I talk to have no clue. They look like they to the audience, to the people listening. Even though they think I'm a flat earther, which is automatically dumb, they think the other person is, not knowledgeable. So
I was gonna say,
weird.
I answer him in a serious manner because I'm not a piece of shit like he is, right? I try to take it seriously.
Yeah.
This
But
conversation.
if someone's trolling you, Silent Zero, like, and they're not
Okay, I'm not
taking
gonna
you
go
serious-
down to their level. I'm still gonna be me, It's okay if they're having fun, if they're
Okay.
laughing on their
Yeah.
own. That's fine.
Yeah, I agree. So let's get off the personal stuff and maybe
That's
move on to
psychotic
another
behavior.
topic. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of you're right. I agree. It's toxic. So let's move on.
How is the 2017 eclipse predicted that went across the United States?
Yeah, it goes in a cycle.
Wrong direction. No more.
Reverse
mean the
engineering.
You mean the one where the animation, where the Earth turned the wrong direction?
No, that never happened. Can you show that?
That they tried to explain why the shadow was moving differently than you'd expect it to on a round moving Earth. It looks like they're just trying to model what they think is going on. There looks like there's several different models that are available. Zero cycle over a flat Earth potentially too.
How do you know that it was predicted with the Zero cycle? Like, how was that used at all?
The Zero cycle is just you charting out the general pattern of when eclipses occur.
hold on,
You just know when it occurs every 18 years, 10 months, and some change. And you say, we're probably going to have an eclipse pretty soon. That's it.
Yeah. There's a difference between knowing the timing of it and knowing the explanation of the timing of it. Zero cycle is merely a calendar. It doesn't even attempt to explain why the timing is like it is. But the globe model does do that.
The algorithms are based on it,
It's
though.
circling over the flat surface, and occasionally something gets in front of something else. That's it. Circling over a flat, unmoving surface. There you go.
So can you use that idea to predict the ground path of the next total solar eclipse and exactly
with general patterns? Yeah. The only difference would be your map, what the ground underneath the eclipse is mapped out as. That's the only difference.
I don't think you can. You're gonna have to show me that.
North Pole in the center, continents radiating out from the center, something AE map-ish with the sun, moon, and stars circling overhead. That'll give you
So
a general
use this model to predict the next eclipse, please.
Bro, you can't even show a heliocentric model with a coherent scaling showing the phenomenon happen, you know? What are you even talking about? For real, man. Show me a
Sure you
heliocentric
can. Just
co-scale model showing eclipses. Following the
Oh, that's
solar
easy.
cycle. Do it. Yeah, of course it's easy.
That's easy.
Because it's so
I'll show
easy
you.
to scale it. Of course, yeah, show me.
Why do you
Send
keep
it.
talking? You don't want to hear my answer? Okay, here we go. Just get a student version of STK, which is a very accurate model of the solar system. And you can put in any time and date you want, and you'll be able to figure out exactly when and where eclipse will happen. Done.
Nice.
Can we see this model?
Sure, get the student version of STK.
No,
The model
can you
doesn't account
present
for
to us this model,
everything.
please?
Yeah, sure. I'll screen share my version of STK if you want.
Your model, namely that the sun, earth, and moon line up like a billiard ball to cause an eclipse, doesn't explain everything. It doesn't explain the solar eclipse where the angles are not right, where the moon and the sun are above the horizon making a V, not a line. So there are some things that your preferred model might explain and some things that it doesn't appear to explain very well at all, namely the impossible selenelian eclipse. So you can try to hold your model and try to write workarounds for it, or just drop it like a bad hat and go with something else.
He probably can't explain that either, Selenelian. Probably has no idea.
They'd say something about
It's easy.
refraction.
They're still 180 degrees apart. Can you stand on a yoga ball and see two objects in the distance at the same time that are in line with the yoga ball?
I would like to see this model.
You know how much atmospheric refraction it takes combined, all of this together, to actually create that somehow magically?
About half a degree. Isn't it interesting that that eclipse only happens during dawn or dusk, and the moon and sun are still 180 degrees apart? Interesting, huh?
Explain it with refraction. That'll always work.
The
Definitely.
shadow's upside down too. That nerfs them into oblivion.
Shadow's not upside down. You
It's in the
just
wrong
can't think in
position.
3D.
It's in the wrong position.
I'm gonna need a citation for that.
There's
Bendy shadow.
that refraction.
The moon descending into the shadow below that the Earth is casting when it's in front of the moon for a lunar eclipse. So the shadow should be coming bottom up. It's coming top down. Is refraction accounting for that as well? I doubt it.
No, you're forgetting the motion of the moon in its orbit.
Yeah, that sounds like bland rhetoric at this point. I'm just going to drop the model and
No.
go with something flatter.
Okay, go ahead. Use that model that you think is better to actually predict the eclipse for the next time in 2024.
Cycle with some sort of flattish map superimposed into that general pattern.
Okay, so tell me the ground path then precisely using that idea for what's happening in April 21st of 2024.
The brown pattern will be just data.
Those
right?
patterns
So
are
you can
reverse
actually-
engineered though.
And there's no shape. There's no shape. to the
Citation
data.
required.
There's no
Citation
shape.
There's
required.
no need of a citation for reverse engineering.
Okay, so you have a baseless claim then, nothing more.
No, it's not. It's just
If
logical
you had the
thing.
sunrise, if you had sunrise, sunset, and the eclipse information, right, and it was all written down, and you'd be like, eclipse happened on this day at this location, and this day at this location. That has no shape.
Isn't it the alignment of three planetary bodies?
The sun, moon, and the Earth for a lunar eclipse, where the sun and then the Earth and the moon in that order, with the Earth casting a shadow on the moon for the lunar eclipse, at least. For the solar, it would be sun, moon, then Earth, with the moon getting in front of the sun, and the moon casting its shadow on the Earth, supposedly in their model or their explanation of things.
And that's how they predict it, because the alignment of these, you know.
We have to assume even that the moon is doing the eclipsing and or the Earth is doing the eclipsing. That doesn't even follow. The Earth doesn't seem to move. It appears that there are other dark stars or other bodies that can get in front of what's up there and cause eclipsing.
Nibiru
It doesn't got to be there.
Yeah. So their model or their explanation of things have serious holes that need to be addressed.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Earth get between the sun and the moon. I'd actually like to see that.
The Selenelian eclipse at least implies that the Earth isn't doing any eclipsing because the angle isn't right. And writing a workaround with refraction just isn't very convincing at this point of my flat Earth journey.
Journey indeed.
I don't even know why they call it eclipse sometimes. Selenelian.
Selene is another way to say the moon. Selene, Selene. It's another name for the moon, I think, mythologically. Neleon is related to Apollyon. So it's basically a sun eclipse for Selenelian, essentially.
Why can't we get pictures from whatever they have out there that they say they have of the eclipse? Like if they get such an angle, they should be able to get that effect.
If I had to go conspiratard, I'd say it's probably because it's another dark star that's obviously doing the eclipsing, not necessarily the moon itself. They can't let the cat out of the bag about that. But the sun-moon eclipse.
Ever wondered?
What's that?
How do you think the moon gets illuminated from the bottom at midnight some evening?
It's self-luminous. Could be like holding a bulb. I'd say self-luminous.
We can zoom in on it. It's not self-illuminating. You can see shadows and things on the moon.
You say refraction. That's it. That's all you have to say.
No. Why?
The moon appears to be giving off its light.
How's it a refraction if the sun has gone to the set in the west and the moon is in the east, maybe right above your head? Not above your, sorry, in the east, and it is illuminated from the bottom.
You're trying to say that the moon is reflecting the sun. If you drop that assumption, other explanations open up. If it's self-luminous, it could be some sort of electrical lighting from within or something.
Lemon, I just said you can zoom in on it and see shadows on it, so it's not self-illuminating.
Just because it's self-illuminating doesn't mean that there are shadows on it. That doesn't follow.
I don't think you understand what that word means.
That doesn't follow, though.
Lemon. I mean, it's getting a little bit tiring, but it's kind of fun. But come on. It's not self-illuminating. You can zoom in on it, and you see shadows on the surface. It's not self-illuminating.
You're saying just because you see shadows, that points away from it being self-illuminating? I don't know about
You can't have something self-illuminating have shadows on it.
Yeah, you just have it illuminating and have shadows on it. That's what the property of light is.
No, hang on. You guys say they're shadows. They could just be dark spots. You don't know that they are shadows.
You do know shadows because they behave like it. So if something looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
How does the moon surface turn?
All those things, Sanic.
How does the moon surface, Sanic, turn yellow warm light into white fluorescent luminous light?
Where are you getting yellow, white, and all these colors?
When you look at the sun, it's a completely different spectrum of light to the moon.
So your eyes now are some type of spectroscopy equipment that can actually determine what the frequencies are.
No, one's obviously yellow and warm, and the other one's white and fluorescent or luminous.
How is it obviously? Are you looking through an atmosphere? Are you looking through areas that might make the sun look
God, you're a goon. All right,
I've
stay a
the
goon.
microscope up to the sun, Xanic. You get a hot laser with the sun, and you get a cold, light with the moon with a magnifying glass that you'll still heat at any magnification.
Oh, would you stop that? That's been repeated many times. It's nothing but.
What about the red moon?
Yeah, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's yellow. It changes a whole lot of colors. We don't see the sun.
The atmosphere is actually reflecting
refraction. Okay. Refraction appears to be the go-to excuse to kind of excuse some of the stuff away.
Oh, why does the sun look? Why does the sun look orange or reddish or even kind of brown when it sets? What's causing that? I mean, this doesn't take a genius IQ to.
The water molecules in the air that we look through.
And that's toward the horizon. The moon takes on that aspect throughout the night.
Why
So that's
why is the sun and even the moon changing colors as it's at the horizon versus right above your head?
So you mentioned genius IQ. A genius IQ wouldn't come up with one reason and then just blurt it out over and over again every day without looking for any other reasons. And genius IQs come up with
we of course we look at all the
different
reasons.
reasons.
We look at all the evidence, and then we start.
What would be the other reasons?
Scientifically, we start doing experiments like the shadows. We can
Yeah,
actually.
that's not the way a genius mind works. He doesn't care what other people think.
We can see if the
No,
shadows.
I'm going to hold you to that. So, what other reasons do you think?
We can see the shadows.
Are you just going with the scientific
Why do you
census?
keep on? Can I just respond?
Because you're not answering my question.
You're not answering the
Let's
question.
let him respond. Let's let him respond.
Well, he's going to respond something that he hasn't been answered.
Shadows behave like shadows by doing observations at different periods of time, at different angles to the sun, and we can see those shadows follow something we call shadows and behave like shadows. There's no other explanation. I mean, I'm very open to hearing your explanations or any others, but right now there's no other explanations because they behave like shadows. So there are shadows.
I self-eliminated.
You don't have any other reasons. Instead of saying that, you just went on and on about something else that didn't ask.
No,
and then
because
tried to get me to
we're
answer my question.
Rakia,
It's weird, man. I just wanted to point out, I knew you wouldn't answer.
Rakia, your IQ doesn't determine your behavior. So you can't say how somebody with an IQ acts.
True, that is true. But the thing is, we need to stop going to refraction as an excuse. Maybe the moon is just a different color because it's a different light or something else other than refraction, or whatever is the excuse for why we see too far. The moon appears to be a different color, all this other stuff.
Why does the moon not change size when it goes away from you?
People have done pixel by pixel analysis of the sun and seen that it goes down a few pixels, changing in size. Sometimes it changes dramatically, sometimes it doesn't.
That does not follow the laws of perspective that you guys tout so often.
Perspective just says that it gets smaller as it gets away.
Hold on. If something moves twice as far away, it should be twice as small. Would you not agree?
No.
You wouldn't agree. That's a basic law of perspective.
That law is overblown.
Why do you keep on doing that, Lemon? Lemon, stop it, please.
Because you say a statement, you come to a hard stop, you wait for someone else to talk, and then you ask why they're talking. It's strange, man.
Right? No.
But you're doing the lecture stop because you're saying one point and then you're using it as a setup to say another point and another point. You're kind of doing a lecture stop.
You're very confused. I'll say it again. I'll say it really quickly.
That's what 3 or 4 people would agree.
Hang on. I'll say it really quickly. The law of perspective says when something goes away from you and it's twice as far away, it'll be twice as small. Do you think the moon behaves like that? Yes or no?
Yeah, that's in a perfect vacuum situation, right?
Okay,
like
so what would be the reason why it wouldn't?
Well, it's not centered on the object, Janet.
Because you guys can't do it to each other. You keep on talking over each other. You both are talking over each other. I asked the question, and 3 guys jumped in.
I went on mute, and then he started talking, and then you started talking.
No, I'm just observing you guys talking over each other.
I went
Let's
on mute.
control ourselves, guys. Come on.
Whether you're going to buy it outright.
Come on, Zenik.
Don't you?
I don't know. Use
Somebody's
something
in the
easy.
background speaking silently.
I'll say it again. Why is the moon not? Why is it not reduced by half when it's twice as far away?
With an intention, like.
How do you know how far away it is?
And how far away is it?
Assume that it's twice as far away. If it's on one side and goes to the other side, it should be twice as far away.
Far away.
Hold on, I think Zach is
goes to your left, goes to above you, goes to your right.
People know what they're.
Well, that's a good point. That's a great point. So if it's not twice as far away from you, then it must be rotating around you at a radius distance. That makes sense because that's what actually happens.
Give you a new invoice.
So you guys, you're fighting your own argument. So either it is getting closer and farther away as it travels from east to west, or it's at a radius that's constant. Which is it?
I posted the railroad.
No, it's not which. It's not which.
It's in the main
You need to
chat.
first know the medium, whether the moon is in the medium or not,
don't need to know
and you
the
need
medium.
to make assumptions. Yes,
You
need
don't
to
know.
make assumptions.
Nope. Because that medium would still be a constant.
Well, I mean, that's just
Yeah,
an
I know.
assumption, bro.
No, it's not an assumption. You're watching the moon go from the east to west. You're seeing this. It goes from
Bro,
east
I'm
to west.
watching the moon and I don't know anything about
You
the
know
fucking
that it
moon or
moves.
the
Wait,
Milky Way.
Wait. You're assuming the moon is a physical object, inanimate. Like
we can
that is
see
the
it.
object you're actually seeing it, right?
We can zoom in on it. We can send radio
That
waves.
doesn't
We
mean
know
that's
it's a
the
physical
object that the
Can you
physical
touch
object.
it? Can you manipulate it in 3 dimensions?
What, in my hands? Why do you need to
I
do that?
mean,
We have other ways.
I'm talking about when you're putting it up to the scrutiny of the laws of perspective. You're making the assumption that what we're seeing in the sky, a certain distance away, that you are assuming it is by assumption measurements, that it would follow the laws of perspective. That's not right.
Don't the flat earthers go back to trust your senses, trust your eyes, and suddenly you don't want to trust your eyes anymore?
So we're not going to talk about your argument anymore. We're going to.
No, it's not. My argument
a group of people say, as you interrupt me.
Zanik, we trust our
Jackass,
senses,
man.
but our senses are complementary. We can't just see something and derive interpretations by just seeing it. We need to manipulate it and we need to measure it, you know?
Yes, and we can do that. And you've been listening to QE too often. Manipulation doesn't mean you have to take it in your hands and massage it. Manipulation can be changing the independent variables in your experiment. And that change of an independent variable, such as time, such as what you're seeing is where it is in the sky, those are all independent variables.
But the thing is, you're making an assumption about what the moon is doing based off of begging the question and seeing another object block another object and cause a shadow. You haven't manipulated the moon in these ways that would be really nice to show actual causation.
You didn't. No, you don't have to show causation. All you have to do is manipulate those variables, such as time. You take a picture.
How do you manipulate time?
You take a picture of it once, and then you take a picture of it a half hour later, and you look at those shadows and where they are, how they behave, and that can show you the answers that you're looking for.
Taking pictures half an hour apart is manipulating time. Is that what you just said?
Manipulating time, yes. Manipulating time is waiting. Metering out time is a way of manipulating an independent variable, such as time. Like a plant, taking a picture of it day one, taking a picture of it a year from now. You've just changed one independent variable, that being time. And you did it by taking a picture a year later.
Time is not an independent variable.
Time is absolutely is. If you've taken any science courses whatsoever, you would know this. But you don't. You listen to Quantum Eraser, and he gives you your information, and that's what you use to make your decisions.
Dude, I was researching time 30 years ago, way before I heard the name Quantum Eraser. Listen up,
then you
dude.
should know that time is an
Listen up.
variable.
Time is a concept. It's a man-made thing. Do you understand that?
No, time is the progression of existence, and it has units of measure. We have seconds and minutes, for example. It's not the only units of measure you can use with time, but that's one of them. And all you have to do is wait a certain period of time, use the measures you want to use, and you can manipulate time in your experiment. That's how it's done. So if you've done research for years, you've missed the point. You've missed the
Okay,
mark.
my turn now. Are you done?
Is there any way to
Hold
reverse
on, guys. Give me 2 seconds with him, please. Zanik, are you saying time is physical, like your buddy Kosho said yesterday?
Time is physical. Doesn't mean
Time is physical?
Yes.
Wow, nice. So can you, I'm getting a little old, I'm getting a little long in the tooth. You think it's possible to sell me some time, please?
Why should I be able to sell you? So just because something is physical means you can touch it or sell it? Pretty limited understanding of what I'm saying or what we're saying to you.
It's a physical.
Let's
You
go
said
back
it's
to
physical.
You diverged a little bit. Let's go back to the plant. If we're doing an experiment with plant and we wanted to see how it looks in a year, or you agree with me that it takes a year for the plant to grow, would you not think that time is a partial cause to that growth?
So it's physical. Okay. So tell me, how much does an hour weigh?
If it doesn't
Zanik?
need it, if it doesn't
Hold
need
on,
it,
I'm talking now, Zanik. One-on-one. You said time is physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, can you tell me how much an hour weighs, please?
Does physicality have mass? Does physicality have to have mass?
How much? How much did you say? 10 pounds?
Physicality have to have mass. Because you're giving.
So it's not physical then.
You're answering my question with a question.
You're asking weight of something that is not weighable.
Weight and mass are
So,
separate.
so it's a concept then. It's a man-made
You mentioned-
concept, right?
Well, mass
Based
will have
on.
weight in a
Let me.
presence of a
Why
gravitational
do you
field.
interrupt every time somebody
Because someone
speaks?
asked me a
Can
question.
you
in
not
addition
be
to you.
cordial?
No, because someone asked me a question in addition to what you were saying. I was responding to him.
So
You didn't hear
time,
him?
right, is based on the mythical turning of our globe, right?
Nope.
That's a day.
No.
Then no,
No.
no.
That's the unit of measure of time.
What are
Time
the
is
physical
Wow.
properties?
So you have no clue as usual.
Time is the progression of existence.
What are the physical properties of time, Zanuck? You invoke physicality, so I would like to know a physical attribute or property of time, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going there soon. Yeah.
physicality
Go ahead,
of-
Janik.
It is the progression of
passes,
existence.
time
That is its physicality.
I didn't hear you.
What?
Can you repeat that?
It is its physicality is its progression of existence. That's what time is.
That's a physical
Progression
property.
of
The
existence.
question that you guys are asking isn't whether.
Talking to each other some more.
Yeah, guys, you're not asking whether it's physical or not. You're asking whether it's corporeal or not. You're using the wrong word for the wrong thing.
Correct.
We're asking in
No,
what
we're asking the exact
makes
word
time
for the
physical.
exact
I want
thing
to
we
know
need
the
to ask.
physical. I want to know the physical properties of your time, please. Thank you.
Time, it's hard to think of time as physical when it doesn't have a shape.
Lemon, let him answer it, bro.
Oh,
Let him
I gave you
answer
the
it.
answer. You don't like it. That's not my fault.
Come on, Zanuck.
Yeah.
I told
Give
you.
us your physical properties, please.
It is the progression of existence.
Time has no physical properties. I'll give you a hint. And space has
Isn't
no
it good,
physical
Lemon?
properties.
You hear that?
Silence means he doesn't have an answer. So we're going to move on
Exactly.
and expose how
Next
time can't be
subject,
physical
please.
unless it has a shape and a color.
We can still use time
See how you guys divert? Y'all came from the moon and understanding perspective and seeing that it doesn't get smaller with distance.
Called the Rayleigh
You admit
criterion.
time is a man-made
The
concept?
Rayleigh criterion
It is a man-made
is the Rayleigh criterion is how you discern between the limit of discerning between two objects at a distance. That's not what we're talking about.
Do you admit time is a man-made object so we can move on? A man-made
It's not a
thing or
man-
concept?
Time is not a
Not an
man-made
object.
Time
the
is
measurement
expression
of time.
existence. Units of measure can be man-made and man can conjured, which
Yeah,
is
it's
the
called
second
it's
and
called
the
a
hour and the
conventional
day.
concept.
Those are. I'm talking. Those
Yeah,
are the
that's a convention.
Hey, those are the man-made terms and units of measure. But time itself is the progression of existence.
Time is
Progression of
nothing more than a
existence?
concept, a
What is
conventional
it?
concept. Time does not exist ultimately. Time is an expression of magnitude and nothing more. Thank you.
Give me
That's
the
right.
magnitude of today.
Time is only relevant to one species on Earth. Nowhere else. Only
Well,
one
go
species
back.
on this realm here.
So why
Well,
why do ants usually go out at night, not during the day?
Well, there could be some
What
sort
is
of
time to an
circadian
ant?
rhythm inside of them.
You just
A
buried. You
clock
just
on
dug your
signal
own hole.
inside of them.
Existence is eternal.
Follow it then. Follow the logic.
What is time to an
Why
ant?
do ants
Time
usually
is
go
the
out
only way
during
we can validate
during
our
night, not the day?
Nighttime is
Some
not.
animals are
Nighttime is just
nocturnal. Some animals
lack
are
of
in the
light.
day. When they
Okay,
see the
so-
sun, they do their thing. Nocturnal animals, when the sun goes down, they do their thing. Next question.
So what is the difference between day and night?
Lack of light.
Are you
Nighttime
kidding
is
me?
the deprivation of light,
What
and
co-
daytime has light.
What causes
Exactly.
the difference?
The
What
amount
does
of lumens.
time have to do with light or darkness?
Because without time, there would be no change. You're asking for something to change, which can
That's not
only
true.
happen through time.
That's not
That's
true.
silly. That's silly what you just
You
said.
put the cart before
What
the
does
horse.
time?
Time
Yeah.
is the measurement of such changes, and you're trying to
No.
propose changes without a measurement.
Time
No,
This is
forward whether
absolutely
you like it or
incorrect.
not, buddy.
What is time to light and darkness? Go ahead.
It would be.
It's an expression of magnitude, just as I said. Thank you.
Magnitude of
Nothing.
what
It's
exactly?
nothing. It's a
Time doesn't have
man-made
a
concept.
magnitude.
Man made it up so we can say, I'll meet you here at a high noon, instead of saying, I'll meet you here when the sun.
It's the sequence of events that leads between these two. You do not have light and then dark.
Yeah, you do.
Yes,
you do.
Sure you do. I can turn on the
is
light
no-
and off the light instantly.
I can show you darkness encapsulated in light. How about that?
At this time, do we find utility in measuring time? Yes, we do.
Yes, it's absolutely essential to our way of life. We can't live without it.
If you have more than
it's
one
a man-made. Why do you interrupt somebody in the middle of a sentence, man? I just had 2 words to finish. It's a man-made concept. Go ahead.
Yes, it is a man-made concept. It's a conventional one. And time is, like I said, just the expression of magnitudes. And,
I know you want to say that over and over, but you've been asked also, what is magnitude of time?
Magnitude is how massive the mass is, essentially, how big this object is. It's the expression of the field. So when you see light passing through a medium, that is an expression of a field that can be measured in units of time, sure. But again, this is a human construct. Time, like space, is the attributional byproduct of magnitude and its measure. It's comprised of past, future alone, which are wholly phantasms of perception and memory. The present moment, or now, is not a part of time whatsoever, since nobody can stand in a moment of the same waters of flowing time, nor can time be still. A moment, or now, is why don't you look into Zeno's paradox? It's a really good one. It kind of helps explain it. But humans desire or hammered by recollection of past, and either desire, fear, hope, or more the future, which does not exist. Since past and future are unreal, and time cannot be now, time itself declares that it is nothing whatsoever. The laughable fact that relativity and the religion of quantum have reified nothing, that being time, is both laughable and sad commentary upon human understanding of this concept. Time in analogy has meaning upon the hands of the clock, but at the axle pin, at the base of the second and minute and hour hand, time has no meaning at all. Time, in short, is the offspring. Time, in short, is the offspring and necessitated phenomena of magnetism, and its byproduct being mass and magnitude. I can't say this word.
Because you're reading it from
Are you reading from somewhere, bro?
I'm reading Dr. Fester's book. That's why you
have to read the next switch page.
That's a good book.
I'm reading from Ken Wheeler and down to the last
table of contents, or maybe
let me finish the last sentence here, please. Thank you. The aggrandizement of time by empirical beings says
what was
little
that
of
word
time.
again? I didn't hear that word.
Okay.
It doesn't mean
aggrandizement, making something grander or bigger than it actually is. Aggrandizement.
Yeah, good. Thank
Very
you.
good, Lemon.
Aggrandizement of time by empirical beings says little of time, but a lot about the nature of empirical existence.
So what did you get from that, bro? Why did you read that exactly?
I read that because what it tells you is that time is a byproduct of magnetism being the expression of magnitude. And we use this expression to kind of calculate and construct things to determine and predict things, but it's a tool. It's nothing more than a tool. And it doesn't ultimately exist. It's something that we can make happen and use to calculate, but nothing more.
So let me get this straight. You believe in this character who says time is an expression of magnetism and we can use it to shape it and mold it? Are you serious, my friend?
I'm not saying we can use time, we can shape time. That's not what I said. You kind of took everything out of context of what I said. So when you look at anything in phenomenal existence, it has mass, all right? And it has mass due to magnetism. And this mass has a
It
field.
has mass due to magnetism?
It has mass due to magnetism. Because
Why does magnetism determine if something has mass or not?
Because mass is the volume between the atoms and its constituents. It's not what you say it is.
Why is mass
being
the
matter.
volume between the atoms?
Because that volume determines the mass.
Okay, so if I have one atom, is that not mass? We can individually. I can individually select an atom and place it on a substrate in a vacuum.
Yeah, every atom
does that
has
atom have mass?
Every atom has a set mass, and that mass is
So it's not the
determined.
distance between atoms. You said it
Yes.
was. Now it's the,
No, I said it's the distance between the conglomerates of the atoms, being all its constituents.
Okay. What about the atom itself? Does the atom have mass?
Zanuck, did you not just hear me? I said yes.
Yeah, but you said two different things. You're double speaking.
No, I'm not
Originally
double
you said
speaking, Zanuck. You're not
There's
listening.
a volume between the atoms. Now it's the atom itself. Which is
Listen. I'm gonna say it very clearly. Listen very closely. Mass is the volume attributed to atoms, and likewise their conglomerates due solely to magnetism. All magnetism is the creation and basis for all mass whose measure is time. Magnetism is the creation of torsion
You
and
have like
space.
a book open and you're just reading from this book. Where are you getting this shit from?
Zanuck, I actually
Can you use
give
your own
facts.
words?
I actually give facts. I don't just make shit up off my
You're
cuff,
making it
Zanuck,
up.
like you. I don't just make shit up off my cuff like you. I'm actually reading from somebody that knows something, Zanuck. Yeah, that part.
I'm reading a quick quote here for you, Dicelo, which is
Please,
physicists define
please.
time as the progression of events from the past to the present to the future. Time can be considered to be the fourth dimension of reality, used to describe events in a three-dimensional space. It is not something we see, touch, or taste, but we can measure its passage due to change.
I like that. I like that, and I would subscribe to that.
What a bunch of hogwash, pardon my expression.
There's two different definitions of time here. There's the usual definition that we just got of time, the passage of events, and another one that asks how events tend to pass, the rate at which things tend to occur, and these conditions versus this condition, how things flow, how things expand, how things go from point A to point B. We have several different definitions of time here.
Yes, and one true one. It's a man-made concept.
Well, they're using something to talk about the passage of events, how things occur, how things expand, how things go from point A to point B, the ordering of processes, that sort of thing. They're using a bit more different definition
Are
of
you
time.
saying animals don't experience time? Are you trying to claim this?
Absolutely.
We need to see if they experience it.
Okay. So why then do things happen to the animal? Because time is you need time to describe change.
No, you don't.
Without time, you only have one state of everything. If you want to have a second state of anything, the moving from one state to the other is time, by definition.
Time only measures the future and the past. It doesn't measure the present. That's the problem.
Time doesn't do nothing, guys. Absolutely nothing. Doesn't affect your life. Only when you have to go to work and leave, that's the only time when time affects you.
It's a tool,
Well,
dude.
talking about time as if it is causal is a little meaningless, because to bake a cake, I don't just put the ingredients there and say time will put them together. An actual process needs to put the cake together and put it in the oven for it to bake. Then I guess time could pass for it to bake, but talk about time being causal in that sense, it's a little off. I get what you're saying, saying watch it at one time, watch it at another, and observe it through different times, but saying time is, causal in a way is a little off.
Time is the framework which causal events happening.
Okay, so if I don't turn, that's a good analogy, Lemon. If I don't turn on the clock, will the cake still bake?
The clock has nothing to do with it. That's just a man-made metric used to measure it.
Now you're getting it. Exactly.
The same way. But without things passing, without time passing, not the concept, not the unit, but the actual passage of events, nothing can happen, because without time, we have one state, which is the present. No change, no progression, no movement.
Yeah, but there's no causation. Even if there's no time, the cake will still bake.
S.A. Montreal, does a car have speed if it doesn't have a speedometer?
Yeah, I know what you're going to do. Time based on distance, time, that doesn't matter. Time does not exist.
Will not
We use
bake
it.
without time. We know this because we can do that test. If you put it in an oven, turn it on, and don't allow time to pass, it will not bake. So you're wrong. Again.
So again, you're stopping time, Zanuck. Man, you're a magician today, bro.
And I do not allow time to progress. I mean, I don't allow time to progress, it will not bake. So
How
you
do
have
you
time
not
to
allow
progress
time to
for 30
progress,
minutes
Samick?
or an hour or some period that you want to use, some man-made unit of measure of time.
Well, the
it will
problem
progress,
is,
and it will be.
I
I'm
hope we're
still
taping
talking.
this, man. I
I'm
hope
still
we're
energy-
talking.
taping.
I'm almost done with the sentence.
for energy and
I was
process.
almost done.
to
You're
take
still
place.
reading from Dr. Fester's book. Just
No,
shut up
I'm
for a
not. This
second.
is off the top of my head.
I was
Xanax.
talking to somebody and you interrupted me. So
Let
I'm
him
already
finish,
done, but
please.
you-
Let
right.
Zanuck finish, please.
No, I'm done. If you don't let the cake bake for a period of time, it's not going to bake. So you're wrong.
Okay.
All right.
Hey,
so
if that's the way you want to see things, man, it's up to you, bro.
time is required for things to take place, for like energy to transverse its states, or for processes to happen. There has to be a time variable.
No, there doesn't. I'll stand next to when I turn on the oven, right? I'll stand there, look at the cake, and when I see it's nice and puffy, oh, it's just risen. Oh, perfect. I can put the frosting on now. Boom, I close the oven. What
Yeah,
did time have to do with that cake baking?
You paused. You had segments of time pausing so that you can let processes take place before you did one step after the next. There was like a delay between your actions.
There was no delay.
You put the cake in the oven. It puffed up. You had to wait for this process. Then you pulled it out, put the frosting on. You had to wait for that process to cool before you could eat the cake. It's all these like time processes for things to happen.
I mean,
No,
we could have fun. We
absolutely
could
not. I
introduce
just did all those things.
We could have
It
some
didn't happen
fun and
instantly.
sorry, can I get a word in edgeways? So we could
Yeah,
have
sorry,
some
go ahead.
fun and we could have some fun in introducing to the B theory of time.
To the what dress?
Yeah, can you say that again?
I said we could have some fun and introduce SE to the B theory of time.
The B theory of time.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we've just been discussing what's called the A theory of time, which is the causal progression of events within the framework. So, you know, we measure that using a clock the same way as we measure a bit of wood using a ruler. That's all cool. But the B theory of time is what's called simultaneity, that we experience what we believe to be the passage of time, but all events happen at the same point.
Oh, I get you. You're talking the fantasy, La La Land, past, present, and future all exist, all existing at the same time, right?
Oh, SE, you're too mean, dude.
No, that's not what he said.
Well, he knows. He knows. He's laughing. He knows I'm right.
I don't
that's me.
subscribe to the B theory of time. I think it's an interesting thought experiment, but I don't hold to it because, as I say, what I experience is causal events. You know, I get on my bike, I start the engine, I begin to move, the heart beats a bit faster when someone pulls out in front of me. You know, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, there is a passage, a period. And funnily enough, I can use the clock on my bike to measure how long it takes me to get there, the same way as I can use the odometer on my bike to say how far I've traveled on it.
I think the river is the best analogous way to kind of like showcase this, because you're standing on the shoreline of a bank of water moving, right? And this water's flowing is represented as the time continuously passing. And you can look upstream and you can see the future as it comes, and you can look down the stream and see the past or the present as it goes away. The problem is the second you try to stand in that water, that flowing water of time, it doesn't stop, right? There's no delay there. It's a continuous movement, right? And the only thing that you can perceive really is the water coming and the water going, because the water that's around you is always moving. So that's why I say, like, time is really existent of the future and past, and nothing more, due to the fact that the present is just a phantasm. It's never stopping. The only thing that can really be perceived is the future and the past.
Look, I respect you guys' opinion. I'm not trying to overpower my opinion, but I've been looking at this for like 30 years, maybe more. And that's just my opinion. Time is a man-made thing. I mean, we can respectfully disagree. How about that? Unless you guys want to go on, I'm still game. No problem.
No, I'm good.
If man really can create time, then that's a
Well, anyway,
we
back
have
to
more
the
power
original question.
than I
We
imagine.
see the moon travel from east to west. The flat Earth idea is that it goes from east to west in a straight line. We think it's on a radius and it's constant. It's at a constant distance. So if it's going in a straight line, it doesn't take, I guess back to the original term I said, it doesn't take a genius to figure this out, that it should be getting smaller and larger based on its distance proportional to that change. We don't see that proportionality. That's the point that I was making originally, that diverted to this nonsense about time being physical.
Can you tell when the sun is at the highest point in the sky above you?
Yes, you can do that, and it's relative to the horizons.
So if you can tell when the sun is at its highest point in the sky, how do you determine this this pathway and this point at which it's at its highest point?
When the rate of change determines it, that's why.
Yeah, but what I'm asking you, is this something that you can physically see? Is this something that you can physically see happen and pinpoint?
Yes, you can measure an angle, and at its apex, that'll be the highest point, regardless if it's low in the horizon or not.
Does the sun change its angular size as it goes to solar noon or starts setting or anything of this?
There may be some small changes due to the atmosphere, but it's very small. It doesn't have any, it's a rounding error compared to what we should be seeing with regard to angular size due to perspective. And the perspective is something you've actually quoted this. You actually put it in a little box. You called it Rayleigh criterion. It wasn't that at all, because you didn't talk about the two objects. You only talked about the diffractive limit. But the geometry and the trigonometry is still the same.
What do you mean by two objects?
I think it's self-explanatory. If you
Well,
want
the Rayleigh criterion isn't based upon two objects.
really, you're making a statement for which you have no knowledge of.
The Rayleigh criterion is based upon an object on the
Rayleigh.
horizon and the distance of the observer.
No, that has nothing to do with the Rayleigh criterion. Do you want me to explain what the Rayleigh criterion is, actually?
Yeah, go ahead. Maybe I missed
So
something.
the Rayleigh criterion is your ability to discern two objects at a distance. The Rayleigh criterion is based on the diffractive limit, and you've quoted the diffractive limit is an equation. The wavelengths of light, the diameter of the distance, the diameter of your eye, the distance to the object, those kind of things. That's not the Rayleigh criterion. The Rayleigh criterion will say whether those two objects can be discerned as one or two objects. They're still seen. They still have an angular. Hold on,
I feel like you're missing something.
Hold on. They still have an angular size, but you can't discern them as being one or two. That, by definition, is the Rayleigh criterion.
Okay, so you're saying there's two objects that are fairly close to each other upon the horizon, and the viewer is perceiving them to be potentially one. It's hard to separate the two objects, and they have to use the Rayleigh criterion to understand if it's two or one objects. This is what you're telling me?
That's partially right. I was going to say exactly, and you kind of muddled it up a little bit, but no, it's simple. It's one sentence. It's whether you can see two or one objects in the distance. That's the Rayleigh criterion.
I mean, again, man, like I feel like you're leaving something out. Like, can you just act like I've never heard this before and just explain it to me?
Okay, so the Rayleigh criterion is based on the diffractive limit. The diffractive limit says whether you can see something or not. We have an angular resolution of our eyes, whether we can actually see something or not. There's some size that we can't see. The acknowledged general value is 0.02 degrees. Now that allows us to then plug it into the Rayleigh criterion and saying two objects that are a certain size and a certain distance apart and a certain size of your eye lens will determine whether you can tell whether they're two objects or just one object. You'll still see it. You'll still see a dot in the distance, but you won't be able to discern whether those two objects are one. Is that clear enough?
Yeah, and I get what you're saying, but again, I never understood it to have anything to do with two objects versus
Now you
one.
know. Now you know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have to have somebody else validate that just to make sure. But
You get a
I don't know
citation
if I
from
trust
Quantum
you.
Eraser. Yeah, thanks. Where'd you get that chart from, by the way? I'm just curious. Where did you get that little slide from?
Oh, it was either from Flat Earth Data or 24/7. I forget, one of those two.
Yeah. Just because we see something in actually printed, on a computer and on a picture, doesn't mean it's going to be correct. I'm always leaning toward when I see something that looks formal, that that's got to be right because it looks formal. But sometimes people put baloney on and make pictures out of it. And this isn't items on it aren't wrong. Some of the equations are actually right. One of them's suspect, but the message there is incorrect.
Okay. I'll have to look at it again. I mean, does it imply anything about two objects on that diagram I posted?
Well, yeah, it looks like someone has taken snippets from diffractive limits and Rayleigh criterion and put them on one slide and then made a strange conclusion at the bottom, because usually you go from top to bottom, and the bottom should be like the summarization. And this eyeball looking at an angle at an object, and a d equals the height of it is what, and theta being the angle of, basically the angular size of it. That's just basically saying angular resolution. It doesn't say that the Rayleigh criterion is really about discerning two objects, and that's specific about the Rayleigh criterion. If you look it up, you'll get that. I mean, if you did a Google right now, you'd find it, I'm sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I always understood it as just like one object's distance, dependent upon its diameter.
It's often used to confuse the discussion about things at the horizon as the two objects. Like the horizon is one object, or the Earth is one object, and the object is the other. And because they're so close together, you can't see them. That's the reason why things disappear. But the problem is they forget that the angular size of the horizon is going to be full field of view. So suddenly that whole idea and concept goes out the window. So it's a false and it's a false analysis of that concept.
So you got a two-dimensional triangle that you can hand me, Zanuck?
I do not have a two-dimensional anything that I can hand you.
How about a three-dimensional triangle? You got one of them you can hand me?
Of course.
Is there such a thing as a three-dimensional triangle?
Yes.
You sure?
Sure.
Would it still be called a triangle if it was in the third dimension?
What are those things called that you take the metal bar and you swing it around inside the triangle and dinner soup's on?
Yeah, you taught the dinner bell thing.
The dinner bell, yeah, the triangle.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's called a triangle once it's in the third dimension. Like, doesn't it take on a new name?
I think they actually call that the triangle in music.
I mean, it's pretty simple, I'm sure, to convey as a triangle, but in the third dimension, the triangle shape takes a new name. I just don't know.
Well, no, it would just be a triangle with depth to it. Like, it would be a 2D triangle with an additional dimension of depth.
The three-dimensional triangle.
Yeah.
It's not a real triangle, that one you described, is it? Because it has a curve on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all just a question of semantics.
No, this isn't semantics.
It is.
No, man. We have to be hyper concise when we're dealing with you people.
And I quote, it's a two-dimensional triangle with depth.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to go over every little word,
So what does
every
that
little
make it?
understanding of
A
those words.
three-dimensional triangle.
Exactly, Rakia. They didn't get it.
Say it again, Essie.
So, what's a three-dimensional circle?
That would be called a sphere.
So it's not a disk?
No.
Okay,
What's
so
that
why are we applying different laws to making a circle 3-dimensional versus a triangle 3-dimensional?
Because a circle is only 2-dimensional. The second you have it in a third dimension, it's no longer a circle anymore, is it?
What if I add a depth to it? I'm not adding.
That's what I just told you.
No, I'm
You have a
only adding
cylinder.
depth to it. So
Cylinder.
it's a disk.
Cylinder.
Or a
No,
cylinder.
it's
Yeah.
called a cylinder.
Well, cylinder is if you extend the disk even further, and eventually you'll call it a cylinder.
Well, that's only subjective. That's not objective.
Exactly. That's
But
the whole
again,
problem
it's
with
not
all
a
of
circle.
this.
No, it's not a circle. Is the main point I'm telling you. Your little 2-dimensional rudimentary shapes that your elementary school teacher gave you, does not translate to the third-dimensional reality. And you guys want to act like it does, but it doesn't.
What's the point of this?
Well, when you guys want to wrap triangles over a sphere and say that you're triangulating something, it seems a little silly to me.
We're not triangulating, we're trilaterating. You're correct on that.
Yeah, but again, you're assuming your third angle. That's non-existent.
No, we're trilaterating. Yeah, we're not triangulating. You are very correct.
Yeah, it's still a thing too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a problem, man.
You want to address trilateration?
You guys are bending the rules to fit your narrative.
And it works. And it works. How about that?
So is the argument here that we cannot use, for example, trigonometry because that uses drawing lines, and lines are not 3-dimensional, so you cannot do that?
No, that's not as much as my argument, as much as that you guys are wrapping a straight tangent across a sphere and acting as if it's straight.
Who is acting like that?
It is a straight line within spherical geometry, yeah. The equivalent of a straight line. It's an equivalent of a straight line in spherical geometry, yeah.
You can only have a straight line running through the center of a sphere, not on the edge.
Nope.
No, you can't. It's called a tangent. Yeah.
That's not a straight
by
line.
definition.
That's called a segment. A segmented arc.
No.
You can have an
tangent.
arc. You can have an arc be a straight line within spherical geometry. The equivalent of a straight line in spherical geometry is an arc in Cartesian.
Yeah, but again, you guys are bending the rules to fit your narrative. This just like goes against logic.
These
Why
are
is
the
that
same
called,
rules. These are the same rules we've always had. You just don't want to accept them.
Well, it works real good when you're using a curved path over a flat surface, and then you're implying that the surface is curved but your path is straight. This is what you guys have done. You guys have inverted in reality.
What?
We are claiming that the coordinate system is straight, while in reality it's curving, because we don't live in a coordinate system.
I'm saying how you apply that coordinate system upon 3-dimensional reality. You guys are never traveling in a straight path. You guys are always traveling in a curved fashion on a straight path, on a straight plane. And you guys have inverted it, saying that it's a curved plane, but you're traveling straight. You guys don't travel straight. None of you have ever traveled straight.
It is still straight within the important parameters, which is left to right. When we're on the surface of Earth, when we talk about straight, we're not talking about whether we're going up, down, left, right, all these directions at the same time. It is merely whether we're going like left or right or forward. I'm butchering the words, but
We actually,
the directionality on the surface.
Yeah. Constant heading.
Yeah,
We
but
actually
that's what
use
I'm
that,
saying. You guys never have a straight tangent. It's always arcing, whether it's to the left, to the right, or downward. In your paradigm, you guys are never traveling straight, and that's a problem.
It is still straight within many definitions. It's just not the straight that you
Yeah,
want
again,
it to be.
it's straight within your critiqued paradigm that you've done to alter reality for the minds of the viewer. But again, this isn't logical reality. This is
It's
your
only
narrative
not
that you've
in
created.
your special reality that you don't want to accept.
We actually use that kind of language in everyday life too. For example, when I tell someone drive straight, I don't mean with your car move in a direction that doesn't even include bumps in the road. So if a bump comes, you need to stop because now you're deviating in the upwards downwards
You're just
direction.
being
So you need
silly
to
now.
stop.
You don't drive through hills. You
You're just
drive
being
over
silly.
hills, and it's still a straight road because you never
No,
have to
that's
turn
how
your wheel.
I'm just pointing out how we define straight.
If you don't have to turn your wheel, that road is straight. But there can still be hills and bumps and divots and all of these things, but it's still straight because we don't have to move the wheel.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the imperfections of the surface. That
I
you're
know you don't
following
want to
along.
talk about anything
I'm
that
not talking
disproves your
about that.
logic.
I'm talking about the fact that you guys use a magnetic compass to say you're traveling straight when in all essence you're doing quite to the contrary. You're going in an arced formation, a curved path, and not one of you can travel in a straight line, in a straight tangent. Not one of you can do this. This is a problem.
Why is that a problem?
Because the most efficient pathway from A to B is always a straight line, and you guys are never traveling in a straight
The most
path.
efficient path on a spherical surface is a geodesic, a curved line.
Again, you're presuming this to be such without ever pinpointing this to be as such. You just assume
And you're
it.
denying it because you don't like the feeling of that being true.
No, I just like efficiency. I don't like to be told I'm efficient when I'm highly inefficient.
It is efficient to travel on a geodesic. It is a geodesic because it's the shortest path. It is the most efficient you can be because digging through the earth to get to somewhere is not an efficient path. Sure, it might be a shorter path, but it is blocked by a medium that is untravelable, or at least very slow to travel through. That is why you want to travel the geodesic on the surface. This is the shortest, most effective path.
When was this geodesic created?
Geodesic is a term within geometry. There is no such thing as a geodesic being created. Do you
So
want to
when
know
did you
about
guys-
the origin of the term?
When did you come up with your calculated almanac to push forth this illusion?
What almanac are you on about?
What I'm saying is prior to your understanding, people were traveling.
What illusion?
People were traveling perfectly fine without all of your fancy jargon.
Yeah, because in reality, when we naturally move along a geodesic when we move in a straight line to us.
What I'm telling you is you guys came up with a bunch of fallacious ideas that are non-usable, right, for people prior to this. So when you look at the Vikings, the Polynesians, all the people that were sailing across the oceans, they didn't have to apply all of your ludicrous nonsense.
I'm using it. I'm using it as we speak. It's very usable.
Yeah, I'm saying before it was
Everything
even
that
meant
is
to be used,
fallacious-
people were traveling.
The only thing fallacious about what we're saying is your appeal to incredulity fallacy. You
Like
simply
this,
don't
man.
want it to be
It's like
true
this.
because you don't like it. Nothing that we've said is fallacious. You are ascribing
this, man.
fallaciousness to it because you don't like it.
Okay, you done? So it's like this, man. You guys gave a recipe, right, for traveling, and we're gonna compare this to a cake, right? Like you have to have this particular ingredients within this recipe at these right increments and the right intervals. So you have a cake, right? So is it possible to bake this cake without all the necessary antecedents, all your formalities that you've created? Or do you have to have all of this stuff in place to have this cake come out right?
Your analogy is very bad.
Well, what I'm trying to tell you is that these guys were able to bake the cake before you guys had all of this recipe. And what I'm telling you is that the recipe is not required to bake the cake. And if that's the case, then your little recipe is nothing more than just a measure of understanding potentially, but doesn't have to match with reality ultimately, due to the fact that the cake was already baked before your recipe.
The only analogy that would be accurate would be that a cake would need, let's say it's a spongy cake, so you need a racing agent. Now, we've explained what a racing agent does. That does not preclude you from using a racing agent without knowing that. You can simply just use a racing agent without understanding what it does. We've explained what it does, which does not change anything about how you use it, only how you might want to develop one further down the line.
Yeah, but if you add too much or too little of that raising agent, the cake doesn't come out. So what I'm saying is if these people knew how to add the right ingredient before your recipe was ever came about, then it doesn't seem required to bake the cake.
How efficient were they actually?
I mean,
in
it
baking
seems
the
like
cake?
it seems like they did pretty good. They went very far distances with very limited means, and did they go where they anticipated? I don't know, but nevertheless, seems as if they sailed a vast majority of the 7 seas.
Here's something I don't understand. In our understanding, even if people didn't have a complete understanding of the shape of the Earth, that wouldn't stop them from moving forwards, you dumbass. You already said yourself that you don't know how accurate they were. So basically your argument is they couldn't go forward if they didn't know what the shape was.
No.
Lori, calm down. We don't need that.
Yeah, there's no need to start calling names, but man, that's not what I'm saying.
Let me say something here. It'll make a good point too. I'm not sure how strong or weak your argument was when you added that insult, but it sure made it sound weak. So maybe take that into advisement.
I'll take it into account.